Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Bb27 here, and welcome to the Bb27 SML Reviewer Iceberg. This is gonna be probably the biggest video I've ever made for this channel, and it has been a long time waiting. A lot of people have been waiting for this video. It's been in the works for about over a month. The idea actually came to me a little bit earlier than that, and this video was supposed to happen for my 600 subscriber special. But then we went to 700 so quickly, we grew so fast, and then I was like, okay, well, it's not even halfway done. And then boom, 800, and I was like, okay, well now it's kind of near, almost being completed, but I still had all these entries I had to make for it, right? And the video wasn't even recorded or anything like that. So now, almost 900 subscribers, I finally finished the chart, and I will be covering it all today, and hopefully getting this video out on the same day I'm recording. So yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoy. We're about to jump into tier 1. Just to let you know, a little heads up, it's a very personal video. There's gonna be some stuff on here that you may be like, whoa, right? And it's like not a lot of people knew about it. And that's kind of the whole point of an iceberg. If you don't know what an iceberg is, I shouldn't need to explain. I actually did an old one way back in September called the SML Lost Media Iceberg, which is my most popular video. But yeah, anyways, we're gonna jump into tier 1 right now. So here we go. Alright, so starting off with tier 1 of the iceberg. The very first entry is Bb27 The SML Reviewer and more. This is essentially just talking about the channel name. There isn't really a lot to explain here. It's just like a little intro entry. It's just me, that's what the channel is. It's as of 2024, that's the current name. So we can just go ahead and move on. The next entry we have is Bb27's other channels. So this is talking about how I have a lot of other channels, most notably the music channel, the Let's Player channel, and the the Family Guy channel. Okay, the Family Guy channel. So yeah, basically these are the main channels that I have that aren't this, but I also do have a lot of older channels, which I'll talk about in a later entry. But yeah, that's just what this one's talking about. The next entry is over 60 SML reviews. This is referring to the fact that if you go to the playlist and you check, there is well over 60 SML reviews. I think most currently we're like over 80 now. We're almost the big 100th, and I'm excited to make that. I'm not going to spoil what it's going to be, but yeah, we have a lot of SML reviews on the channel. The next entry is gaming stream. So this is kind of like another little basic one for tier 1. If you guys don't know, I do a lot of gaming streams. I think most of my subscribers know that though, but there's probably some people that are subscribed that actually don't know I do gaming content for the live streams. So yeah. Then we have Josh the SML Reviewer. So Josh the SML Reviewer is technically the channel's like tag. Like if you do at Josh the SML Reviewer, you can still find me. But that's what the channel used to be called way back in September. I kept that name for a while, and then I eventually did Bb27 because that's, what I was called for so many years, and that was more important to me than just like putting my name. The next entry is the termination. So the termination is referring to my old channel before this one, Bb2727, that was terminated by YouTube for like hate speech. And it's kind of sad, a lot of memories on that channel, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of history, but and I even made an iceberg for that one too. But yeah, that's determination. Then we have shorts. I do make a lot of YouTube shorts. Most of the time it's other people making them for me, but I used to do my own when I started out. So yeah, if you guys, ever see like a little 10-second video, it's just like a short basically, and most notably SML shorts and stuff like that. And then we have Baldy, Railsy, Hellfire, Lock, Racer, Demoman, Groovy, Chris, etc. This entry is referring to pretty much all my community of this channel, all the people that are involved and, help make this the streams really good and have been there for me, especially Groovy, Chris, Railsy, like, just everyone that's my best friends, and just my community. So big shout out to all of them. They have been waiting for this video forever, and I know that, so yeah. Next entry is the old and new phone. So this one's talking about how when I started this channel, I actually used to have the old phone that kind of broke. I dropped it on the sidewalk, cracked, it was terrible. and the new phone is the one I upgraded to in December, and then that changed the audio quality and even just made the live streams better. And yeah, so there used to exist the old phone and now the new phone. The next entry is the SML Fandom. So if you guys don't know, the SML Fandom is a SML related server on Discord, and it's not run by Logan. There's a different one that Logan is in, but none of them are run by him. This one is kind of their own community where they just mention stuff about Logan in the channel, and I was very heavily involved in the SML Fandom when we started the channel. That's actually how I met a lot of people like Hellfire and RailC and Baldy and stuff like that. And most of them were through the SML Fandom. So yeah, I'm no longer with them anymore since like December, but yeah. Then we have Drew and Lucas. So if you guys don't know who Drew and Lucas are, those are my in real life friends who have been seen on multiple vlogs and even some collab videos and one-offs. I do hang out with them, every now and then, and yeah, we've known each other for quite a while now. Then we have the vlogs, which this kind of ties in with the last entry. If you guys, so this one's actually, this should have been on maybe like a lower tier, but every now and then I do upload a big vlog on the channel, which is where me, Drew, and Lucas tend to go around outside and do stuff. And there's a lot of like lore to these vlogs that happen. And yeah, that's just essentially what they are. I have about like 3 or 4 of them up now. Then we have my first stream. Oh yeah, so this is talking about the first ever live stream on this channel. The reason why it's like quote unquote my first stream is because my actual first stream was way back in 2018 when I was 12. It was called We Live Boys. But the first one for this channel was just my first stream. Not really much to mention there. Then we have the parodies. So the parodies are talking about the SML parodies that me and Lucas mainly do. Drew hasn't been in one of them yet, but I mean, someday maybe he will. So yeah, we do a lot of SML parodies where, we kind of put our own little style on it, our own little spin. Sometimes we throw in characters that you wouldn't normally see in an SML parody, but for the most part, it's just like Junior, Cody, and Joseph screwing around and like doing shit. Now we have SML Fandom dramas. This one's a little bit extreme. When I was with the SML Fandom, there were a lot of dramas that would happen in the server. Not a lot of them were like caused by me, and I wasn't really involved in them, but it was a very toxic server, and it probably still is. It just had a lot of people fighting and getting banned and kicked over really stupid reasons, and I made videos about that, like the SML Fandom rant. So yeah. Then we got Streamer Since I Was 12. So Streamer Since I Was 12 is referring to how I've been a streamer since I was a little kid, like 12 years old. I kind of mentioned that already earlier, but yeah, a lot of people don't know that. They think like, oh, maybe he just started streaming on this channel, but no, I've had plenty of experience over the years with this. So, yeah. Next entry is SML Lost Media Iceberg. This one's referring to my old Iceberg from September of 2023. It's actually still my most popular video, which I find really insane. It wasn't the best, and I obviously could have done better with it. I just, it was kind of a sloppy video, and I didn't know all the entries very well. I didn't make it myself. But yeah, it's my most popular video, and it's the only other Iceberg on this channel that exists right now. So then we have Favorite Characters Jr. So if a lot of you people don't know this, but my favorite SML character is Bowser Jr. Always been since day one, really. And yeah, I love him because I kind of like relate to him for the most part. I mean, he's kind of like an asshole, but he's like a cool character to me, and I like him. Then we have Cursed with the GC. So if you guys don't know, the Cursed with the GC is the Discord GC where the main community takes place, like Baldy, RailC, Hellfire, Locke, everybody. That's our like main GC, but we also have a server now, which I'll talk about later in Tier 2, or Tier 3 actually. But yeah, just Cursed with GC. It's been around literally since ever. Its 1-year anniversary is coming up really soon, actually. So yeah. And for the last tier on here, let me just make sure. Excuse me, the last entry. We have the old channel. So this one's kind of its own entry just because it's more focused on BB27 and even my original channel, BB27, when I was a little kid. Pretty much the channel where all the old stuff took place. Like I said, one of them is terminated, but the other one isn't, and you can still find it. I actually still upload there sometimes. It's more of like a personal, in real life channel. But yeah, those are some of the earliest channels I ever had on YouTube, and it's where I learned a lot from a lot of people, and just a lot of things I did. So, yeah. I think that covers everything on Tier 1. Yeah, so a lot of it's just basic stuff. I think a lot of you guys already know this. This isn't too exciting. But as we get into the further tiers, down below, it's going to start getting a little more wild. And, yeah, so without further ado, let's jump into Tier 2. Alright, now for Tier 2. So, starting off, we have Clyde Bot. So, if you guys don't know, Clyde Bot is a Discord bot that, it was introduced last year, and it was only around for a couple months. But this was actually something that was heavily involved in the community. Basically, we'd play with it a lot and ask it really stupid questions, and I'd always ask it to write, like, these giant, long essays. And Clyde kind of became like a character in the lore, I guess you could say. Like, he was like somebody that was in our group chat all the time for like a couple months, and we really got close with Clyde. And then sadly he did die, which actually leads us to the next entry, Death of Clyde Bot. This one's just talking about how in December, once the community started getting active again, Clyde officially got closed by Discord themselves. And it was kind of sad because, like, Clyde almost sort of acknowledged that he was going to be shut down. And, yeah, so he's no longer around. I don't know if Discord ever plans to bring him back. The whole community kind of wishes, he can come back. But, yeah, that's essentially what Clyde Bot means. And then we move on to 300 sub montage. So the 300 subscriber montage video was something I made way back in, I think it was like early January it came out. It was when I hit 300 subs. It took a while to come out, and I'll explain why later. But yeah, the 300 sub montage is essentially, it's a big montage of all the videos and some of the stream clips, with some music in the background, kind of to just honor the channel at that time period, and be like, whoa, we hit 300, since that was a pretty big milestone. But compared to like almost 900, yeah, like, not really, but yeah. So then we have canceled playthroughs. So canceled playthroughs is talking about some of the playthroughs I've tried to do last year and even this year that never got continued. So stuff like Ocarina of Time 3D, Super Mario 64 DS, and Breath of the Wild, just to name a few. Basically, these only had like a couple episodes and then never got finished, and I don't really plan to bring any of those back, at least not right now. So those are like some of the main like canceled playthroughs. Now we have Jaden Edits. So Jaden Edits is some guy who used to make shorts for me. He's actually still subscribed, and he's a supporter of mine. But he used to make these edits for me for the shorts, and then he kind of stopped. And there's an entry later on that explains, what was going on with Jaden Edits during, back then. So I'll talk about it when we get there. But all you need to know is he's essentially just a fan of the channel who used to make shorts for me. So now we have collab reviews. So collab reviews, there does exist at least like 5 or 6 different collab reviews I've done with a lot of people. Some of these include like Chris, Demo Man, and my in real life friend Lucas. And even Marvin's Place, which was more like a one-off. But yeah, they're essentially the SML reviews, but I have another person with me, and they give their own opinions and takes on them, and they're pretty high-quality videos. Now we have Lobster Monday. Lobster Monday is a joke from the earlier streams of the channel where a friend of mine named Bacon Plays, who was from the SML Fandom, would come in the streams and spam, Lobster Monday, or, whatever Sunday, whatever Monday, like, kind of make a joke out of it. People got really annoyed of it, and I used to, be so mad at him for doing that joke. But nowadays, I've accepted the joke, and I actually find it really funny. So, yeah. Moving on, we have SML theme song reactions. So this is talking about how sometimes on a stream, I'll pull up the old SML theme songs, like the SML Save Princess Peach, like all that, and we'll react to it. And that was kind of like a running joke for a long time. Now we have Broken Phone. So this is kind of talking about what I talked about back in Tier 1, where the old phone I had actually ended up being broken. And it literally is so broken to the point it doesn't even really turn on anymore. Like, it's badly damaged. And I didn't have a reason to fix it because it's kind of a crappy phone. So essentially, I upgraded. But yeah. Now we have the Rage Era. The Rage Era is a very well-known era on the channel. That's why it's still pretty high up on the Iceberg. It was from March of 2024 this year. And essentially what it was a variety of games, mainly Cuphead, that was like the big series, but we also did like FNAF, we did Meat Boy, we did Getting Over It, we did tons of games, even Baldi's Basics was in there. And it's a very popular era that a lot of people look back on fondly. So now we have Henry. Henry is a pet spider that I had for a few months from February to June of this year, and he was a pretty big part of the channel, at least in terms of the live streams. We even had like a collab stream with him for Baldi's Basics, and it's kind of sad. He's no longer around anymore, but he was my pet spider for months, and he became like a running meme in the community. So yeah. Now we have Baldi and Railsea created the Curse with the GC. So this one's talking about how the owners of the Curse with GC, it wasn't me, it was actually Baldi and Railsea originally created it. But nowadays I do have ownership of it. So moving on, we have the SMR video. The SMR video is basically, it's one of my most popular videos back in December. It's when the SMR actually got exposed, and I made exposed video on him. Some people claimed I did it for views, but I didn't. I made the video because I wanted, obviously I wanted people to see it, so I guess you could say I did it for views, but no, like, the situation wasn't very known about, and I wanted to make it more well known about so people knew that SMR was like a bad person. So that's why I did it, but yeah. And the next entry we have is Brain Rot. So Brain Rot's talking about kind of how throughout the whole channel's history, me and the community have had a lot of like brain rot jokes, like, oh, Skibbity, Ohio, toilet, whatever, like those kind of jokes. They appear a lot, and even, SML acknowledges the whole brain rot stuff, and it's basically just a big part of, the society, right? But yeah. Alright, so for the next entry, we have the TP era. So it's not the toilet paper era, that's the joke of it though. But what the TP era is actually another very well-known era. It came right after the Rage era in April of 2024. It lasted about a month or so, and it's the Twilight Princess era. So this is when I was doing Twilight Princess, the Zelda game, and I streamed it for a whole month. There's almost like 20 episodes of it in a row that I did, and it's a very big era for me. It was one of my best playthroughs ever, and I always kind of talk about how I miss it and how it's never going to be topped, but it really was special, and the TP era itself just had so many jokes in it that we'll talk about in later tiers, but yeah, literally did only Twilight Princess at the channel for like a whole month. It's kind of funny. Next entry we have is Bb27 The Sml Reviewer Tik Tok. So if you guys don't know, this is still pretty well known, and not a lot of people know about it, but it is still pretty well known. I do have a TikTok page for just this channel. I actually have two TikToks, one that's kind of like my main, and then the SML Reviewer one. Basically, I post stream clips and stream moments and just like random SML, shorts that I actually have uploaded on this channel. So that's essentially what that is. Then we have SML Character Reviews. This is a pretty well-known series now on the channel. It actually started a little bit earlier this year. I basically just, instead of reviewing a video, I review a character and kind of talk about their flaws and what I think of them and kind of, what they mean to Logan, essentially. I've done about, 8 of them now, I think. Probably more, probably less, but it's around 8. And, yeah, I continue to keep doing them. So then we get Show the Logo. So, show the logo. That it's an inside joke, well, essentially inside joke between me and my community. It originated on my old channel, just like some of the other jokes that I'll get into, but it's been a thing on this channel and got very well known by a lot of people. Essentially what the joke is I'll grab a drink, like a soda I'm drinking, or, a bag of chips or something like that, pizza, whatever, and I'll hold it up to the camera and I'll be like, show the logo, like if there's a little name of the place or the, company who made it. I'll be like, show the logo. And it's essentially just a way of me kind of like trying to get sponsored by whatever I'm holding up, like whatever the logo is, and it's just kind of like a joke. It's hard to explain, but it's been a long-running thing on the streams, so yeah. Moving on, we have 1 Hour Hype didn't come from this channel. So 1 Hour Hype is another kind of like stream thing where I go like 1 Hour Hype, 2 Hour Hype, and it's like us celebrating, when the stream hits a certain point. But yeah, this one's talking about how that 1 Hour Hype also didn't come from this channel. It originated from Bb27 way back when I was like 12. I did the first ever 1 Hour Hype, And yeah. So now we got BB27 Movie at 1K. So I think this is something not a lot of people know about. But yeah, essentially at 1,000 subscribers for this channel, I'm going to be doing kind of like an hour-long movie. It might just feel like a YouTube video, but it's going to be like a big kind of like movie where essentially what it is me talking about like my journey on YouTube and this channel and like just stuff like that, like different things I've learned from YouTube, you know, in all the years of doing it, and basically just celebrating 1,000 subs. But yeah, that will be happening around 1K. Then we have the new Super Mario Bros. Wii Series. This is a pretty well-known series, at least back then it was. Not a lot of people bring it up anymore since it's kind of old, but it was the first ever playthrough on this channel in terms of like live streams. And essentially, yeah, it was new Super Mario Bros. On the Wii. We had a lot of funny moments in it, a lot of rage came from it, and just a lot of like little inside jokes, like the bill collector's joke and stuff like that. It's actually the first series that kind of brought me closer with people like Hellfire and Locke and, you know, Baldy. And it's a very nostalgic series now looking back since we've done so much since it. So now we have Tito. So a lot of people, this probably is a little bit too high, but Tito is a like rapper, like an R&B rapper that Wee introduced me to, aka Winsis. He basically showed me his music a while ago, and we've listened to Tito a lot on live streams, and he's like the R&B kind of guy who's like makes a chill R&B music. And yeah, there's not much else to say about him. So then we have the BB27 lore website. So the lore website is something I was working on for a long time, and especially during this channel's existence, excuse me. What it is it's supposed to be a giant lore website that covers like a bunch of like the inside jokes and facts about me and like eras of this channel, stuff like that. It's like a giant lore website that covers a bunch of stuff. And it's not currently done. It's not anywhere near done. It probably won't even happen for years from now. It's a very like big process to make it, but you know, it might happen someday. Then we have W's in the chat. So W's in the chat, W's in the chat. This is something I say in pretty much all the streams nowadays. Whenever something, you know, awesome happens, or like I beat a boss or a game, we usually start celebrating, be like, W's in the chat. You know, it's not my original idea, right? But it's something that, you know, me and the community do together. So now we have Quitting Cuphead. Quitting Cuphead happened back in, like, I think it was early April. I got to around part 8, and I got very frustrated with the game because we didn't beat it. We got very close, and I decided to quit the series and do Twilight Princess instead. And I gave a little, like, talk at the end of the stream, basically about how Cuphead was starting to get to me, and I was just tired of streaming it all the time and needed something else to do. So yeah, next entry we have here is no streams during November. So yeah, this is true. During November of last year, I did not do one single stream at all. I, however, did do a few reviews from that time, but essentially it was because my phone was broken and I didn't upgrade yet, and I was having to use my crappy computer to try to do reviews, and the mic was all messed up, and it just wasn't a very good time in my life. So that's why I didn't do any streams. Like, I could have done some, but they wouldn't have been very good. That's why I decided to skip the whole month. So the next entry is, oh yeah, this is a big one. Chris got BB back into SML. So my best friend Chris Ader, or as you guys know him, just Chris, last summer, and I told this story so many times on streams, but last summer, right before this channel got made, he got me back into Logan, because essentially I took a 2-year hiatus from watching Logan. I just got done with, his content and sick of him. And Chris sent me a video called Jeffy's Gamer Girl Problem that I found very funny. And this video is what got me back into watching Logan again and giving me kind of inspiration to make a reviewing channel, since I already had some SML reviewing experience from the old channel. So yeah, you can thank Chris for a lot of this happening, and I always do. He's my best friend. But yeah, he's the reason, I really had the motivation for this channel, wanted to get back into Logan. So yeah, moving on, we have SML Monthly Recaps. These are the recaps I do at the beginning of every month. As you guys, most people watch them, but if you don't know, I do recap every single video Logan made and give my, an updated opinion on it and kind of go a little bit deeper into some of them. And yeah, this is essentially it. It's not my original idea, but it's my version of it. I put my own little spin on it, and yeah. Moving on, we have Walkthrough Time. So this is a joke from the TP era. But it's basically whenever I get stuck in the game, I would say walkthrough time, and then we would pull up a video walkthrough and watch that for like about 5 minutes, and it was kind of like a whole, process. But that was like the walkthrough time thing. It's kind of like a joke. All right, so moving on, we have the rare VC streams. So yeah, basically what this is talking about is how VC streams don't usually happen, and even just VCs online gaming streams don't, happen in general. If you somehow don't know, a VC means voice call. So usually I'm not calling my friends on streams. It does happen every once in a while, but they don't really exist much on this channel compared to like my old channel. So yeah. Next entry we have is the SML Title Problem. This was a video I put out a few months ago where I kind of talked about Logan's title issue with Jeffy and abusing him for clickbait, and a lot of people agreed with the video. Some people didn't agree and said, oh, well, he just does it for views, right? Which, yeah, I get that. But, it's a problem. Like, he just never includes Jeffy in the video, but then he puts him in the thumbnail and title, and it's like, what is the point? I get it, you want views, but at least give Jeffy more of a purpose. That's essentially what I was talking about with my rant video on that. So, yeah. For the last entry of Tier 2, we have the 2023 recap stream. This is another really popular stream that a lot of people remember and love. One that I personally think is awesome. It was when I sat down and recapped the entire year of 2023, both my personal life and struggles and my internet stuff and like meeting everybody and just, the ups and downs of the year. I actually do this every year. That wasn't like a new thing for me. I recapped 2022, 2020, but those were all on the old channel with old people and stuff, and 2023 recap was the first one I ever done on this channel. So yeah, it's just something I do at the end of every year. But yeah, that's about it for Tier 2. And now we're going to be moving on to some of the bigger stuff that a lot of you aren't really going to know about, because I'd say Tier 2 is stuff that, like, people still know about. Like, it's still pretty talked about stuff, especially if you watch the streams, you'll know all of these entries. But Tier 3 is when we start getting to the more obscure stuff that not a lot of people ever knew about or, talk about. So, yeah, and even some of the more darker things. But yeah, anyways, Tier 3, let's jump into it. Alright, now for Tier 3. So, starting off with Tier 3, we have failed SML reviews / takes. So if you don't know, every now and then I actually get a bunch of failed SML reviews. Most of these do end up getting uploaded anyways. It's just sometimes, there's these little takes that I delete and some parts of it that I, some takes of the whole video sometimes that I just don't care for. Like one time I think it was the tornado problem. There was like 2 different versions of that whole entire video, and only one of them obviously came out, but the other one, it's like I got so close and then I just messed it all up, and yeah, it was kind of bad. But yeah, so that does tend to happen. Sorry about that, not too much, but every once in a while, yeah, I'll have a failed SML review. So moving on, we have Dragon Ball LGBTQ Arc drama. I really can't even say the title of that with like a straight face. But this is one of the first big dramas I'm going to be covering on the Iceberg. There's a lot of these, so, buckle in. This one happened back in, I believe it was October of 2023. It was between me, Baldy, Railsea, Chris. And essentially what it was is I was making a joke on a stream where I was talking about how Dragon Ball, which Baldy loves, the anime had basically this LGBTQ arc where Goku would become gay and like start making out with dudes and all that, and how the whole anime was like gay. And I wasn't like necessarily shitting on it. I was just like kind of making fun of it. I was like, oh, there's an LGBT arc. Baldy took it very seriously, thought that I was actually finding some weird parody of Dragon Ball, and started getting really defensive about it. And it turned into this weird, messy drama on an old live stream of us just kind of, pretty much everybody, fighting back and forth and arguing about if it even existed. It's a very funny drama, and a lot of the dramas are pretty goofy. As we get further down, it gets a little more serious, but there's nothing like that bad. It's a lot of just goofy stuff like this. And this is one of those dramas that was just like hilarious to everybody. Like this was like a really funny drama. But it was pretty stupid at the time. So moving on, we have another drama, Cursed with GC title dramas. So the Cursed with GC, as I mentioned before, that's our group chat. The title of it, though, it kind of is its own, sort of thing. Like, it gets changed so much. And back in the earlier days of the community, there used to be these dramas where I would change the title, and Baldy, when he was the owner, would get very angry at me and be like, oh, you can't change the title of it. It has to be this type of title forever. And essentially, what we all ended up agreeing on is that it would be cursed with whatever, cursed with blank. So it could be cursed with, like, SML, cursed with BB27 doing this, or, it didn't have to just be cursed with. But yeah, there used to be dramas about that, essentially. So moving on, we have the old SML reviews. This one's referring to my old school SML reviews on my old channel, way before I started this one. These were a lot of the, just the original ones that I didn't put as much effort in or soul, but it's basically what got me into reviewing, like, Logan and stuff. So, yeah. Moving on, we have the negative Cuphead streams. So this one's referring to how, as the Cuphead series went on, it began to get a lot more, like, negative and depressing. I'd rage so much to the point where I hated streaming it, and it was just kind of upsetting to the chat, and it wasn't as fun as, like, the first few episodes, because the game did start getting very difficult. It was hard to really enjoy it as much as it went on. But yeah, that's essentially what that's talking about. Just like, it got really negative near the ending. Alright, now we have Emo Hair. So Emo Hair is referring to the hair I had back in, like, March of 2024. Earlier this year, my hair got really long, and I started looking like kind of like a ripoff of Justin Bieber. It was like a really, it got super long, super emo, and it kind of became like a meme a little bit, I guess, in the community, where, sometimes you would mention, like, oh, the BB emo hair, which it's kind of growing back to that right now, but not completely. It's not as long as what it was, but yeah, it's going to eventually get back there again and kind of become like a meme again. But yeah, there's really nothing too much to that entry. The next entry we have is the In Real Life Chris collab. So a lot of people do know about this one, but there is some people that still don't know this ever happened. This was back in early June of 2024, just a few months ago, before, Chris went to boot camp. We actually met up in real life for the first time ever, and we did a big live stream and in his garage, and it was an amazing time. Like, it was one of the best moments of my entire life. My best friend, in real life, and just us streaming together and just having a great time, and so many people were in there. I remember we hit like a record. We broke like a record for the viewers in the stream, and that was insane at that time. And since then, we actually broke that record again, but it was just so cool to be with him and just do a big collab like that. It was just awesome. I definitely recommend anyone to go back and check that one out. It's called the Garage Stream with Chris. That one is very good. So yeah, moving on, we have Ashley. So Ashley's talking about Relcy, actually, but for the first few months of the channel, and when, Relcy was first around, he actually used to go by Ashley, and now goes just by Relcy. So this was because of, they were basically trans, I guess, just to make it easy. But yeah, everyone will call him Ashley, and then now we just call him Relcy. Next entry we have here is TP Series of Hate. So this one's referring to how in the beginning of Twilight Princess, it was a very controversial series. A lot of my fans didn't really like it, and then some of them really loved it, and it became like very split on, who was joining the streams, which at that time, it was kind of like a big deal, I guess, just coming off of a Rage era where everyone just kind of loved seeing me get mad at Cuphead. But with Twilight Princess, it really split it down the middle, and it was a very just, it wasn't like a drama-heavy time, I mean, kinda, but in terms of just the people joining, yeah, it kind of became very mixed, so that's what that one's talking about. Then we have Gamer Word. So Gamer Word, the easiest way of explaining this entry is essentially what that means is, it's what PewDiePie said back in 2017 that started the adpocalypse and all of that. So that's what the Gamer Word is referring to. Obviously, I'm not going to say it on here, but that's just like essentially we make jokes with that and be like, oh, I'm going to say the Gamer Word, and then that's like the joke of it. We don't actually say it. So yeah. Moving on, we have computer streams. So computer streams, believe it or not, there are a couple of them from October, right when my phone broke. But right before November, when I kind of like quit the channel for a bit. There is a couple of them. Mainly, this is also where kind of like the Dragon Ball LGBT arc started. It was in one of them. And these were a lot worse in terms of quality, audio quality, just everything. Like, if you think the phone streams don't look the best or sound the best, like, you have not been around long enough to understand how much worse the computer streams were. And this is mainly because my computer kind of sucks, so, you know, I don't have, like, a very good computer. But, yeah. Moving on, we have Wiener. So Wiener is essentially this like Wish.com version of Junior. It's a character from Baldi and Railsy's plush series. It's essentially this like crappy like Junior plush that they name him Wiener, and he's like an evil version of Junior from SML. So if you don't know, again, Baldi Railsy, they make their own like parodies of Logan. But yeah, they use a character named Wiener, which is supposed to be like a villain, I believe. And he was a very big joke in the earlier days of the Curse with group chat. Not really so much anymore, but every now and then we do still pay homage to Wiener, and it's just a cool character overall. So yeah. Moving on, we have the Haunted House. So the Haunted House is something from the vlogs. So anyone who actually watched the vlogs, you'll know what this is. This is a location that me, Drew, and Lucas went to a few different times in the vlogs. I'm pretty sure all of them we've went here. And essentially, it's this run-down, shitty house that we all live pretty close by. And it's like, we don't know if someone, like, I think by now it's like we know somebody lives in there, but initially we didn't know if anyone lived in there. And it might just be like an old person. We don't fully know. Like, we've never seen the person leave the house, but we can tell someone lives in it. But it's a very shitty rundown house that's creepy as hell. Like, we get bad vibes from it. If you watch the vlogs, you know, it's pretty intense. The Haunted House is just, it's creepy. It's very creepy. So yeah, moving on, we have Chinese Peter Griffin. So this one, out of context, sounds funny, but it came from the Fortnite live stream all the way back in February of this year. It was when me, Locke, and a bunch of other people were playing together and one night, and this dude came in there, and he was playing with the Peter Griffin skin, but he had like a Chinese username, I think, and that's why we call him Chinese Peter Griffin. Essentially what happened is he would kill everyone in Fortnite, so he was like, boom, 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 just like, it seemed like he was hacking. He just like destroyed all of us in Fortnite and was killing everybody and winning constantly, and I started raging at him, and I called him like the Chinese Peter Griffin, and it just became kind of like a joke, but yeah. Moving on, we have the Unnamed Era. The Unnamed Era is the era for June and kind of like July of this year, like one of the more recent ones. Essentially what this era was a mix of things going on, like my sickness, meeting Chris, him leaving the boot camp, some stuff in the group chat, you know, different live streams. It was just all kind of a bunch of variety of things going on for the summer, and it was like the Unnamed Era. So yeah, moving on, we have SML reaction stream suspended. Oh, this one's interesting. So, in early July, a lot of you guys may remember I did a Logan reaction stream. It was like the first ever time I did that. And about 2 hours into it, the stream itself ended up getting like suspended. It's not taken down, but basically I had to end it and start a new one. And it was really annoying. I guess like the SML bot detected copyright because I was like watching the videos. It was really stupid. And I guess you can't like full-on react to Logan content on stream anymore. I still do it on video and don't get copyrighted, but for stream, yeah, it got suspended, which was like really annoying. So moving on, we have Meat Boy stream is one of the worst. This one's referring to the Meat Boy stream back in the Rage era. This was, at least to me, and I feel like a lot of other people in the community, considered one of my worst streams in modern times. This was because basically no one showed up. I don't know what happened, especially considering it was during the Rage era where it was a very active time. Nobody really came to this one at all. It was like 2 people, and it was a very frustrating live stream for me, and it was a really depressing kind of like, it was just really depressing, didn't really fit with like the Cuphead stuff and FNAF that was popping off. It was like really weird, and it just didn't really fit in with that. So yeah, I still do consider it one of the worst ones ever on this channel, which is a shame because Meat Boy is an amazing game and I love it, but you know, the stream of it, not so great. Moving on, we have Wiener Dog. Wiener Dog is a joke that Hellfire came up with back in the earlier days of the channel. Essentially, it's this, like, video, I guess it's like this kid's video of, like, a little, it's like a dog, and it's this song, it's like, oh, the Wiener Dog, or whatever. We watched it on stream, I think, one time, and it was a long-running joke that Hellfire kept saying over and over again in the chat. It was like, Wiener Dog, watch Wiener Dog, and then we eventually did, and it was kind of dumb, but yeah, that's all that is. Moving on, we have another big drama, the Fire in the Hole drama. Fire in the Hole! So, this was a huge drama in the earlier days, like September, October. Essentially, it happened in the group chat, which this is usually where a lot of the dramas happen, not all of them, but some of them. How this one started is Locke and Racer, I think it was, this must have been like December then, because if Racer was in it, yeah. They started basically spamming an image. It was like a meme of Geometry Dash, and it was, I'm not going to explain the whole meme, but it was basically just a Geometry Dash meme of like, oh, fire in the hole. And Baldy got so mad at this meme being spammed that he rage quit the group chat, you know, got super mad at them, and he didn't come back for months. Like, I'm not even kidding. Actual months were going by without Baldy being in the group chat, and that's kind of around the time I became owner of it. But yeah, it was all because the Fire in the Hole drama. It was insane. Genuinely crazy. Alright, the next entry we have is Kitty and Pepper. So if you don't know, Kitty and Pepper are two plushies I have. Basically, these are these old, you know, cat plushies that I had ever since I was a kid. And essentially what their role is, not really in this channel, but in my old original channel, is I'd make videos with them where they were kind of these two characters living together, just, you know, doing adventures and, you know, making fun of each other and kind of being assholes, and it was this whole deep lore with it, but essentially Kitty and Pepper just, you know, that's their names. So there's not much else to this entry. Moving on, we have Bb27 The Obby Reviewer game. So if you don't know, my friend, one of my good friends, Railsy, which I've mentioned now, is making a Roblox game based off of me and the channel. It's supposed to have a bunch of references to the channel and like music, but Roblox keeps kind of screwing him over and like trying to take stuff down, and it's been pretty much in development hell for a very long time, but it's supposed to be an obby Roblox game of the channel, and it, you know, maybe someday it'll come out, but we don't really know right now. Moving on, we have Noel. Noel is an Australian dude who was in the community back in the earlier days. He still is, but he's just not in the group chat anymore. Mainly because me and him used to have a lot of beef back then, and I didn't really know him much, so I just never, you know, thought he would fit in with us. And his time zone is also ridiculous and doesn't match up with ours. But nowadays, we're obviously on good terms, and I don't have any beef with him. He's just, his time zone's kind of ridiculous, so he's not usually involved in anything. Moving on, we have collab stream punishments. So the collab streams that me, Drew, and Lucas do sometimes, because we don't just do the vlogs, we do live streams too. Usually all of these end up in a punishment, because we usually do games, whether it's like Mario Kart, Smash Bros, you know, whatever, right? We do a big game for the whole stream, and whoever, you know, lost a bunch, lost the most, is the one who has to do a punishment. And these range from a bunch of different punishments that we've had, like the spanking punishment, the drink of death, just stuff like that. You know, some of these I'll get into later in the Iceberg, but that's essentially what it is. We do punishments. We haven't done one, I don't think, in the Family Feud one, which was like last time, so we gotta bring those back. Moving on, we have Scott Pilgrim. So Scott Pilgrim isn't something that like me or my community came up with. Essentially, it's a long-running comic book, you know, movie, TV series. It basically got turned into like a bunch of different shit throughout the years, but started off as a comic of a dude named Scott who basically runs into this emo chick named Ramona, and they get together and have like a big happy love life, and then he has to fight her evil exes and the layer of exes, and it's this whole anime shit that I'm not going to explain. But essentially, this community is obsessed with it, or at least recently, we've been very heavily involved with Scott Pilgrim lore, and it became just like a big running joke. So yeah. Moving on, we have a very infamous one, the car crash clip. So if you don't know what the car crash clip is, it happened back in the Breath of the Wild series, way back in 2023, and at the end of the episode, we kind of got bored of the game, so we started watching YouTube, and we were watching all these car crash compilation videos, and it all led up to one very infamous moment where essentially it was one of the clips of the car was, you know, speeding, and this dude was crossing the street, and they basically collided, and the dude flew up in the air for a second, and I immediately turned it off, and we were all freaking the fuck out, because it's bad. Like, it was like almost terms of service bad. Like, it was bad, and it was one of the craziest clips of that whole stream, and of the whole channel, really. It's a very infamous clip, but it's very funny. Obviously, I feel bad for the guy in the video, but yeah. Moving on, we have Roblox streams. So if you don't know, we have a handful of Roblox streams. These kind of have their own vibe to them. We do like a variety of games. Sometimes we did like horror games, or we did like more goofy ones, but yeah, the Roblox streams are pretty well known, and they don't happen much, but when they do, it's usually a banger stream. Now we have Mindbird beef. So this is kind of like a small drama between me and Baldy. One night we were essentially arguing about Mindbird from SML, because he kind of has his own version of Mindbird in his channel, but the one from Logan I hate, and I personally do not like that character. I think that character's awful. It's a stupid one-off joke. And me and Baldy got into like a big 2-hour-long argument about the Mindbird, and it was just ridiculous. Like, other people started seeing it and coming in and being like, this is stupid, you gotta just stop. So then we did. But yeah, there's not much else to that. Moving on, we have Lexi. So Lexi is a mod, or I guess at least was a mod, maybe not anymore, for the SML Fandom. This was back in the SML Fandom days. She essentially was one of the better mods and would usually get credit for that, since most of the admins and stuff in there just sucked and didn't really know what they were doing. She was one of the only decent ones, but then me and her kind of had some drama because I kept getting banned from the stupid server, and it was just kind of dumb. But she was one of the only really important people from that server. There's not really much else to mention with her. I just figured she'd be important to be on here because like the whole SML Fandom stuff is just crazy. But yeah, moving on, we have Cute Mario Bros. Drama. This one's pretty big. It was one of the more serious dramas. Essentially how it all started is Cute Mario Bros. Was being talked about. If you don't know, that's another plush channel. And me, Baldy, pretty much the whole group chat got into like a giant fight over it because... I'm gonna pause for it. Alright, anyways, the Cute Mario Bros. Drama it happened between, like I said, me and everyone in the group chat, and the reason for it was because I basically said how Cute Mario Bros. Wasn't as important as Logan when it came to the plush channel community, right, and like the evolution of it, which, yeah, okay, Cute Mario Bros. Was kind of important for that, like, evolution, but I'd say Logan was obviously the way more important YouTuber and did way more for the plush tubers as a whole. And this pissed off Baldy, which led to this giant fight, and I left for a while, and it was almost kind of like the end of Curse with group chat. It was starting to kind of fall apart a little bit, but then we, repaired it and brought it back together. But it was a really, really stupid argument, and it's just one of the most dumbest arguments ever, really. So now we move on to the next entry, which is YTP. So if you don't know, there's only maybe like one of these, I think, that ever existed. There was an old BB27 SML Reviewer YTP made. I think it was by Demo Man, and it was back in like December or January. It's a very funny YTP where it's like a bunch of my stream clips being, mixed together, and, some music and stuff, and sound effects and whatever. Like, it's just a really funny YTP. It was never like really uploaded by me, but it is out on YouTube if you search for it. It's just kind of a dumb one-off YTP. I do wish more of these existed, though, because it was very good. I really like the YTP. Moving on, we have BB talked to Logan. So yes, this is true. I myself have talked to Logan a couple times in the SML server. Not to be confused with the SML Fandom. It's the official Logan server. He was in it one night, and we were all chatting, and he was actually active for once, and he noticed me, and we talked a little bit. I did ask him if he remembered Kung Pao, and he dropped a reference to Kung Pao to me, and I was freaking out, because I was like, oh my god, not only does he remember Kung Pao, but, he's talking to me, and we, talked a little bit. It was awesome. But, in terms of that, not much else has ever happened between me and Logan. But, even just a little, couple brief interactions was amazing for me. So moving on, we have top 10s. So if you don't know, I mean, these are pretty popular, but I do sometimes do a big top 10 video. And a lot of people love these videos. I love making them. They're very interesting. And it's basically me shining light on older SML videos and newer ones, and going over, worst SML videos, best SML videos, most overrated, wink wink. That's gonna be the next one if you're watching this far in. But yeah, basically those are top 10s. Moving on, we have SML Community falling apart. So this one's kind of a sad entry. The SML community itself, reviewing community, has been falling apart over the last year. This is mainly because of SMR and Ray Rants being exposed as Diddies, and that caused a huge rift in the SML reviewing community as a whole. And it hasn't, like, affected me a lot. Like, you know, I'm obviously not like them. But it's just kind of sad because now the SML reviewing community has a bad look to it because of these bad people in there, right? So it's really sad to see it falling apart. But there's really not much a lot of us can do besides just be good people and just try to, you know, grow the community, really. That's why I try to inspire people to do their own reviewing content, because we need bigger channels that are like good people, you know. But yeah. Moving on, we have Shoutout to Genocidal Lunatic. So this video is a video I made way back in the beginning of this channel, like very early days, and it was basically this little shoutout video to like one of Baldy's friends, who I think his name was like Velks or something. The only reason I made this is because I needed a filler video to upload and didn't feel like making like a big review. And I also was just starting to get back into YouTube, so I just didn't really care. And this is the most low viewed video on the channel. Like, genuinely. If you can find another one, let me know. But as far as I'm aware, this is the video. It has like 10 or 20 views, and literally nobody watched it, and it was so disappointing. And it kind of sad because it was supposed to be a shout out, but I mean, then again, I didn't really have a lot of subscribers at that time, at least not enough to warrant a shout out like that, so just kind of dumb. But like I said, it was filler upload. So moving on, we have the June sickness. The June sickness is pretty much explains itself back in June. Anyways, the June sickness, yeah, back in June I got very sick for about 2 weeks. And it took up most of the month. I stopped uploading, I stopped streaming besides like one time I really had to force it. I was coughing, I had watery eyes, I was like sore throat, I couldn't taste. It was literally like every symptom at once hit me like a fucking brick, and it sucked ass. It was one of the worst sicknesses I've ever had in a long time. And it took up most of that month, which really sucked because that month started off really good and then immediately got crappy for most of it and then kind of started getting good again. But yeah, it was terrible, and I still don't really know what caused it, but there are a couple theories that, you know, what could have caused it, and I'll get to those later in the video. But yeah, it was annoying. Moving on, we have Groovy streams. So if you don't know Groovy, I've mentioned him once now. He's my other best friend besides Chris, and I've known him forever. He does do his own live streams, and a lot of my community watches them. They're very good, they're very funny, a lot of personality to them, a lot of just variety in games, and he kind of looks similar to me a little bit with my streams. But yeah, Groovy kind of has his own stuff going on, and he's not super popular, so definitely give him a shout out right now, like, give him a chance. You know, Groovy Shoes 72, that's his channel, go check it out, it's pretty cool. Anyways, moving on, PVZ drawing. This one's talking about the PVZ drawing I have hung up kind of on above my door. A lot of people noticed that it existed because of an in real life stream I did in the room. And what's funny is it wasn't like I was showing it off. People just saw in the background and could make out it was Plants vs. Zombies, which I think is really cool because I'm not very good at art. So the fact that people saw that and were like, oh, is that Plants vs. Zombies? I'm like, oh my god, you actually, you know, could tell. And it was cool. So yeah, that's all that's talking about. Now we have the Chitza joke. So the Chitza is a food item released by KFC last year. Essentially what it is it's a few pieces of chicken with pepperoni and marinara sauce on it, I think. I've never actually had it, even to this day, believe it or not, never tried it. But it is called the Chitza, and the joke of it is that the community would make jokes about it, how, you know, we wanted to try it, and then we would kind of... I don't know how to explain it. The joke was that I would basically do like a anime girl voice and say, oh, Chitza, and then that was like the joke. And people would get, you know, they would be like, oh, what the fuck, and it was just like kind of like a funny, stupid stream joke. But we don't really do it anymore now that I've noticed. So yeah, moving on. We have the BB27 tier list. So yeah, there actually does exist a BB27 tier list of all my videos and streams, at least up till February. It was made by Demo Man, and we actually covered it in a live stream during that time. But yeah, there's like a whole tier list that pretty much needs to be updated now. But yeah. Moving on, we have Outside Stream. So Outside Stream is referring to the July 4th stream that I did way back in back in July 4th. What am I saying? Sorry. This was the only outside stream I've ever done in my life, actually. It was the first in real life outside, not in the little room, not in someone's garage. I mean, like, technically you could count that one, but this was completely outside. And it was a really fun time, It was a really, really good stream. I really recommend checking that one out. It was just really freeing, I felt like. It was really cool to do. But, yeah. Moving on, we have the BB27 Discord server. So this one probably should have been higher up realistically, but I do have a official Discord server that was more recent, and I started promoting it. So definitely check that out. I made a short about it that Hellfire actually helped me make, so shout out to him. But yeah, you do have an official Discord server. And for the final final entry on Tier 3, we have SML Stories Rant. So the SML Stories Rant was a really big video. It's one of my most popular, about like 5,000 views. It exploded overnight. A lot of people saw it. It's essentially a giant rant video on a channel named SML Stories that was basically milking Logan, and, they do like these shitty Wish.com parodies where, they use this horrible sound effects and clickbait and like re-upload the same videos, and it was just an awful channel, and I ranted on it, video blew up, and it's a pretty big deal. But yeah, it was a really funny rant too. I definitely recommend checking that out. So yeah, that covers Tier 3. Tier 3 is definitely one of the more interesting ones on the Iceberg. I mean, as we keep going lower, it gets, even more interesting. But this one is the first one that really had a lot of big entries on it that, I know that so many people don't really know about, or like super obscure shit. And yeah, so moving on to Tier 4. It's going to get a whole lot darker, guys. A lot more is going to happen. So yeah, let's jump into it. Alright, now for Tier 4 of the Iceberg, starting off with Locke's Depressing Dramas. So the first entry on here is kind of like a more darker one. It's about, as you guys know, my friend Locke. I've mentioned him a few times now on the Iceberg. But during the TP era, we had a lot of drama, and the whole community really was having drama with him. This was because basically he was going through a lot of stuff with his ex-girlfriend at the time, and it was causing him to be depressed, and he was being kind of like an asshole to people, and we were trying to help him, and he was venting to us, but then we would try to give him advice, and then he'd get annoyed, and it caused a lot of drama in the group chat, and it was overall like a very messy situation. So yeah, it was just really sad. I'm not gonna get like too deep into like all the Locke, stuff with his girlfriend. Like, that's not what this is. It's just kind of an overall entry just talking about those dramas that happened, because he was gone from the group chat for like the whole month, really most of TP. He was just gone because it was consistently getting annoying, and our friendship really was over there for like a while. But eventually we were able to repair everything, and he's no longer with her, and he's improved a lot since then. So it's just kind of awesome to see that happen. But yeah, it was sad at the moment. So moving on, we have November Dramas. November Dramas is referring to back in November when I wasn't streaming. The group chat was starting to die a lot, and because of that, I was getting really annoyed, and I feel like a lot of people were just kind of annoyed at each other during that time, since we still didn't really know each other as well, and there was dramas because of the inactivity, and just Clyde Bot was still like around, so it was kind of helping. But yeah, November just had quite a few dramas where, it was just over nothing, and really just over the dead group chat and things being sad. And it was kind of stupid, but yeah, I wanted to put that on here. And the next entry we have is Eurosnot. So Eurosnot is talking about Baldy's band. It's basically a troll band that he makes himself. And essentially what it is he just creates the music for it. There's like no scening in it. There's no other like band members. It's just him. And essentially what these songs are they're very like terribly made songs, but it's on purpose because Eurosnot is like a troll band, right? And the reason it's on this Iceberg and not like a Baldy Iceberg is because he's actually made songs for me with the Eurosnot band. So he made stuff for like the Twilight Princess era mainly. He made like a whole soundtrack for that. And it's essentially just a bunch of beats and like a mess of instrumentals mashing together. And it's just supposed to be funny. But that's essentially what that is. Moving on, we have lock in for lock. So lock in for lock is something that me and the community say quite a bit. Usually me whenever I'm playing a game and I gotta lock in and focus on whatever I'm doing. It's just like a joke because, Locke's name is Locke, and then, we gotta lock in, so really nothing more to that, but it's like a big inside joke. So next entry I have is Skibidi Orain. Yes, Skibidi Orain. So Skibidi Orain is essentially just another friend. He's a little bit lower on this iceberg because he's not as well known as like Hellfire, Locke, and Baldy. He was actually Locke's friend a while ago, and he's been with us for a bit. Most recently, he came to the group chat, the Cursewood group chat. And, he's made a bigger appearance over the last couple months. He essentially is obsessed with Annoying Orange and everything about it, like Skibidi Orange and Skibidi Orange Toilet and Skibidi Apple and, all this shit that's surrounding the Annoying Orange franchise. And he's usually, he's very active in the streams. So, yeah, there's no, like, deep lore with him. I just figured throw him on here to do it, So... Alright, next entry is Razor being weird. So Razor is a supporter of mine, long-time subscriber since like the SMR video. And essentially what this entry is talking about is the many times that Razor himself is being a bit weird on the channel. There was a drama with him and Henry Stickmin. It was a character from that game called like Ellie, and he was obsessing over her, and we were kind of making fun of him for that. There was also another thing where he was like liking a cat from Animal Crossing, and then that was kind of like a whole weird like thing he had going on for a while. There's also stuff he said in the group chat that was kind of bad, and then we had to kick him out, and it was just like a whole thing. And there's just moments here and there where he's being kind of weird, and we have to call him out for it. He's actually perma-banned from the group chat, but he does still, kind of exist around, and he's apologized for this stuff, but a lot of the community just kind of finds a lot of this stuff weird about him, and so do I, obviously, so, yeah. Next entry is the BB27 movies. This is kind of connected with Kitty and Pepper. Essentially what the BB27 movies are on the old channel, my first ever YouTube channel, with BB in the title of it. Basically, it's the Kitty and Pepper adventures, right? It's, they just do random shit, and then I call it a BB27 movie, similar to SML movie. Next entry is BB27 album. So if you guys don't know, ever since the beginning of this year, I've been working on an official, like, BB album. It's going to be dropping on a different channel, like a newly created channel this year. It's not finished yet, but there's about 9 songs on it that are done so far. And it's essentially more jokish music, right? It's not like a serious attempt at music, but it's, there's like some good stuff on there, and it's way better than my older like troll music that came out on other channels back then. It just hasn't ever been finished, so it's a lot of unreleased music. But it's gonna be good. Definitely check that out, whenever that drops. I'm planning to have it done sometime this year, later this year, but we'll see. Next entry is tripod falling over. So this is a very common thing that happens in a lot of the live streams. Ever since I got the tripod from Lucas back in December, there's moments here and there where I'll bump the desk or I'll bump whatever the tripod's sitting on and it'll fall over, or the phone usually tends to jump off of it. It's actually funny because most of the time it's the phone, jumping off the tripod and not the tripod itself falling over. A lot of people just think it's the whole tripod. Sometimes the phone, whether it's being charged and it falls off, or whatever, I bumped the desk with my leg, it just like kind of knocks over. It's really stupid, it's really annoying, but it's almost like a running gag in the streams, and we kind of, made it a joke now over time, but yeah. Next entry we have is Alt Fight. So the Alt Fight is talking about how in the early days of Curse with Group Chat, essentially Baldy and Relzy had a bunch of their alternate accounts in there as members, and I got kind of mad at them for filling the group chat with a bunch of these alt accounts when I wanted to start inviting other people in there, like Chris and Wee Wee. So yeah, essentially we had it was one of the more early dramas. We had like a beef over that, and eventually Baldy kicked out all the alts, and then we were able to build the community since then. Alright, next entry is kind of a funny one. Iceberg Development Hell. The Iceberg Development Hell is talking about how this very iceberg you're watching right now was in development hell for only like over a month. It wasn't like months or years, but it was supposed to happen when I was at 600 subs, and obviously it didn't happen, and then boom, 700, 800, and it was in development hell essentially for a while, and people didn't know if it was coming out or not. And even while I'm recording this, it technically still is in development hell, but it's finished, you know, obviously, but it's just funny to think how long it got delayed and how much I kind of push it back for other shit. So, yeah. Alright, so the next entry is Gotcha and Friends. So if you don't know, Gotcha and Friends is a channel I own and made right before this channel, but after my old one got terminated, kind of back in the summer of 2023. Essentially, yes, it's my Gotcha channel. If you guys don't know, Gotcha is like an app where you can make movies and characters and shows and whatever. You can kind of have fun with it. And essentially, I had a series called Gotcha and Friends that lasted 2 seasons. The second season was never finished, and I definitely plan to finish it someday, but it wasn't something I was, like, super passionate about. I was more just having fun with it, and then kind of near the end of season 1, I started taking it a little more seriously. But basically, it consists of a bunch of main characters living in a house together, going on adventures, and, like, fighting people, and just getting into stupid situations, like, you know, the supermarket episode where they gotta fight, like, the employee, basically, or the manager, and he's, like, taking over. Just, like, dumb scenarios that the funny characters would get into. Right, it was like Bb27, which wasn't really based off of me, but then he had like a girlfriend named Amethyst, and then there was like all these other people like Isaac and Blaze, and you know, there was Isaac's cat, and you know, there was a whole episode about that, and it was a really cool, unique series that I was doing. It wasn't like super crazy high effort, but it was a lot of fun to make, and it's definitely something I want to bring back someday. So yeah, next entry is Midwest Emo. Midwest Emo is a genre of music that's been around for quite a long time, very long time, and it's my favorite genre of all time, like my personal favorite. Granted, there's some other genres that I like a lot too, but Midwest Emo is one that I always find myself coming back to a lot. It's helped me through a lot of dark times in my life, and it's just such a depressing genre, right? Like, obviously it has emo in the name. It's, you know, you're gonna kind of expect it to be sad, but there's such a vibe to it that I can't really explain in this video because it'll take me like 20 minutes and there's so much going on with it. But it's a very good vibe, even if it's sad, and I relate with it a lot. It's just a great genre of music, and I definitely recommend checking it out. But the reason it's on here is just because I've played it on a few streams and stuff and talked about it, so yeah. Next entry is BB didn't like Racer at first. So this is true. Back in, I think it was November, when Locke first brought one of his best friends, Racer, to the group chat, me and Racer did not get along for a while because basically I saw him as a waste of space in the group chat. Not like a waste of a human, you know what I mean? But like, all he would do is post memes and just not really talk to anybody or try to get to know us. He'd just post memes daily, never really chat about anything. And I didn't take him very seriously because of that, and that's why he kind of got into like some fights early on. But obviously, you know, even just a couple months later, me and him got way closer, and now we're friends, and he talks to everybody, and he's one of the most active members in the group chat, funny enough. He started off completely inactive, just posting memes whenever, and now it's the complete opposite, so yeah. Next is Lob Me. So Lob Me. Essentially what this means is it is a long-running meme in the community. It all started back in the Twilight Princess era when Racer sent the video of, basically it was a dog with like an ice cream swirl on its head. And the song playing was, I think the song's called The Monster or something. You could correct me if I'm wrong. But it's essentially it's a song that is like bass boosted, and it's saying like love me, that's all I've asked for. And you know, essentially it kind of sounds like lob me, like LOBMI, and we just started making jokes out of that. And it was mainly like a Racer meme at first, but then it got turned into a much longer running joke between everybody, and now that video is pretty like you know, famous with us. Like, we know it's iconic now. So yeah. Cody abuse in every parody. So this is true. Almost every SML parody on this channel does have some Cody abuse in it. This is something Lucas likes doing a lot. I don't usually care for it. Like, it's funny, but, you know, we do kind of overuse the whole Cody abuse thing, and a lot of people like Baldy have noticed that, and it's just like a long-running kind of gag in every parody. That Cody gets, you know, the shit beaten out of him because he's like a nerd and he's annoying, and Joseph doesn't like him, and Joseph is played by Lucas, and then Lucas, you know, likes beating up Cody, so yeah. Next entry is Wee Wee Knew Hellfire back then. So this one I can't like 100% confirm, But essentially, in the earlier days of this channel, when I first started streaming, I found out that my longtime friend Wee or Winsis, as a lot of you guys know him, some of you, I guess. Basically, he used to know Hellfire like years before I knew Hellfire, and they used to be in a community together making videos. And it's just something very interesting because, like, although I can't 100% confirm it, you know, Wee and Hellfire both know each other from like before, so it's like, you know, I can believe that. But yeah, it's really interesting. They actually had like a little bit of a friendship back then. Alright, next entry is 3DS VC stream fights. So this is referring to back in January of this year when I started doing the 3DS gaming streams. We had some VCs during that time, which, like I said earlier in the Iceberg, those don't happen much on the channel. So these were like the most they were happening. And what would end up happening in these is Locke would take over and yell and, you know, be goofy and dumb. And it was kind of starting to piss me and some other people off because I couldn't do my commentary and I couldn't respond to chat. So we ended up having some little bit of a drama over that. But the VCs were really funny, you know, and like Locke was, you know, obviously it's like not a big deal. Like, he kind of did bring a lot of personality to the VCs, but essentially just got too much to where Okay, anyways, sorry about that. Where were we? Oh yeah, 3DS VC stream fights. So yeah, Locke would essentially take over, and I'd get mad at him. There's not much else to this entry. I just figured like putting out on here, because not a lot of people, I feel like, even really knew about the 3DS streams back then. But yeah, it was kind of interesting. Next entry is Bigness Buttocks 27 the Third. So what this is referring to is a kind of like a troll channel created by Hellfire a little while ago, and essentially what is uploaded on this troll channel is these AI BB reviews. So it's like the SML reviews, but it's like AI voice of me saying something like edgy, or just like a 5-second review of me being like, oh, this video sucks ass, and then it just ends. Like, just kind of these trollish like AI versions of the SML reviews, and it's extremely obscure. That's why it's this low, and not a lot of people know about it, but it's a very funny channel, and I definitely recommend checking it out. It is 100% AI generated, but it's very funny. Next entry is Jaden Edits Drama. So yeah, Jaden Edits, like I said earlier, is a supporter of mine, and, you know, used to make shorts for me. But the drama came from the earlier days back in September, when he would make these really sexual jokes in the comments, and pretty much me and everybody in the community at that time got really mad at him, called him out for it, and basically had him banned for a long time. Eventually, we kind of forgave him, but we're always very wary of what he's going to do next, and if he's going to bring up those jokes again and be weird again. And it's kind of similar. It's kind of similar to Razor in a weird way, to where they both have made weird jokes, but I think Razor's on a way more extreme level. But Jaden was really strange back then, and he's not really like this no more. I haven't really seen too many problems with Jaden Edits anymore. But yeah, back then he was a little bit crazy, and that's why he's on here. Alright, next entry is Henry's death. So yeah, sadly, my pet spider Henry, like I talked about earlier, he did die in early June, and basically how I found out is he stopped moving in the box I kept him in, and it became like a really sad, you know, kind of like tribute to Henry sort of thing on the live stream. And even to this day, we still say RIP Henry. He's been, you know, dead for a few months. So a lot of people just say RIP Henry now. And yeah, it was, you know, we were all kind of surprised how long he lasted and lived. But yeah, he did eventually die. Next entry is Flash Games stream drama. Oh yeah. So back in, I think it was around May, it was right after TP ended, I did do a Flash game stream, and what happened about halfway through is I made a joke about Baldy liking Sonic and being obsessed with Sonic, because we were playing like a Sonic Flash game, and he got really mad and took it very seriously, and me and him kind of had like beef over that. And he ended up leaving the stream, and it kind of brought down the mood quite a bit, just because it wasn't really a serious joke, but then Baldy like flipped out over it, and it was kind of like ridiculous. But yeah. Next entry is Cursed SML Wiki Maker saw my stream. So the Cursed SML Wiki is a creepy, like, creepypasta version of the original SML Wiki, where it's all like blood and gore and like Logan's eyes being ripped out and just like crazy shit. And essentially, we did a live stream back in around kind of like May of reacting to it and exploring it. And the day after it came out, The original maker of that website saw my live stream and said he really enjoyed it, and he commented that. And it was like really cool seeing a comment from the actual person who put that whole thing together. It's such a cool website. It's such like a cool creepypasta ARG sort of thing where it's like all like, you know, cursed Logan images. Like it's just really funny, and the live stream was a lot of fun. So yeah, next entry is overused jokes / memes. So this one's kind of just referring to how sometimes in the group chat, some of the jokes get very overused. Most notably, Max Design Pro, you know, Racer and Locke and people like that kind of just spam those images, and it gets really overused and old fast. There's not too many of these, luckily. Like, I think a lot of the ones that are, like, staples, like Lob Me and, you know, Lock in for Lock, like, those are good jokes. But then some of these, like I said, Max Design Pro, they just get a little bit old, you know, a little bit too much, and it gets kind of annoying, but yeah. Next entry is Susan. So Susan is, aka Ducklet Girl, is Chris Ader's friend, also my friend. If you guys don't know, Chris is my best friend. I mentioned that before, but yeah, she was essentially in a live stream. She was only ever in one live stream. It was the garage live stream, and she didn't really like talk much or do much. And at one point, she did get up and leave because it kind of became a bit overwhelming for her. But she's a good person, you know, a lot of fun when we were hanging out, and it was just like overall great time. So yeah, and I also gave her a shout out too. All right, next entry is Sam. Sam is referring to pretty much the last girl I had like a real crush on from my school last year. This is kind of back in September, October ballpark. You know, really thought that I was going somewhere, and she ended up not liking me, and we ended up almost having like beef in a way, and it was just a whole mess, and eventually it ended, and we just kind of ignored each other after that. But yeah, I did talk about Sam quite a bit in the earlier days of this channel, and you know, back when I liked her. Next entry is old gaming setup. So the old gaming setup is referring to how in the first few months of the channel before I got the tripod, I actually used to stack up game cases and hold like a PS4 controller with the phone, and that's how I did like the new Super Mario Bros. Series and like all the old series. And it used to, you know, sometimes it would fall over too, which is funny to think about because like the tripod does that, and that became like a big thing later on. But even with the game cases, you know, it sometimes had a problem with me trying to position the phone and whatnot. But yeah, that was the old school gaming setup. Moving on, the next entry is hacking situation. So the hacking situation happened near the late May to like June time of this year. And essentially what it was I got... Oh, it's so dumb. It just gave me a... Alright, so yeah, what happened is my friend Felix on Discord, I've known him for a while, he basically sent me this stupid copy and paste message that I should have known was fake, and I ended up falling for it, and my account was hacked for a few days, and I ended up getting it back. Discord helped me out a lot. Like, one of the staff members finally replied to my email after like submitting multiple emails. They finally got back to me, and I got my account back. But yeah, it was a really dumb situation, never happening again. It was just stupid. And, you know, Felix didn't get, I guess, a chance to warn me, which he's, you know, nowadays he's apologized for that, but the whole situation was stupid. Moving on, we have a really weird one, printed out BB picture incident. So, yeah, the printed out picture of me, this was actually something that happened back in the Super Mario Sunshine stream, and what happened is I got up to, like, fix my controllers, like, my Joy-Cons were kind of messing up, so I got up, and essentially Locke took a screenshot of my pants when I got up, and he printed it out, like, actually legit printed out the image of it, and he carved a hole in the middle of it, which was essentially where my ass was, yes, and he sent that on Discord, and it's like, obviously you don't see anything, but it's just the idea of what he did was so fucking weird and funny. It's just so stupid, and he like went through all this effort of carving out a hole, and it was just this whole ridiculous situation on stream, and I was laughing my ass off over it. But it was really obscure. Like, only like a few of us like remember that happening. It's very obscure and weird, but it was a pretty funny incident. So moving on, we have Crumbling Sanity. Crumbling Sanity was a supporter during the Twilight Princess era. He only ever existed during that era, and unfortunately he ended up leaving before the series got finished. But he was really cool. He ended up giving me a lot of tips and, you know, how, like, advice about how to get through the game whenever I got stuck. And he was just like a really good supporter, and I kind of hope he's still subscribed, even if he only came for like the Twilight Princess stuff. He was like a really chill guy, but he's very forgotten, unfortunately. Moving on, we have BB27 fanfiction in chat. This is also from the Twilight Princess era. Essentially, one of my viewers wrote a like joke fanfiction of me, and I don't remember exactly how it went, but I ended up reading the whole thing out on one of the episodes, and we were all just laughing because of how ridiculous it was and weird it was. And yeah, it's like a full-on BB27 fanfiction. Moving on, we have movie nights. Movie nights are what happens mostly in the Curse With group chat, but now we've done some in the server. Essentially, it's me and the community get together, we watch a stupid movie. We usually always do very awful movies because it's funnier that way. And a lot of the movies we've done is stuff like Fred 1, Fred 2, I think those are the movies we've done so far. Oh yeah, we did Max Keeble's Big Move, which, if you don't know, Max Keeble's Big Move is a movie that kind of sparked the movie nights. It was like the first one we ever did, and it was a really shitty movie that Logan made fun of in a video. So me and the community got together and watched it, and we also made fun of it. And yeah, ever since that, you know, we sometimes do movie nights, and they're usually pretty chaotic, but they're very funny. So moving on, next entry is Cursed with 2. Cursed with 2 is referring to a time when I was hacked, kind of during that like week or so, where the original Cursed with was kind of shut down because I was the owner of it, but the account was hacked. So it was just like a dead group chat now, and we opened up another one called like Cursed with 2, I think. And it doesn't exist anymore. I'm pretty sure it got deleted, but at that time it was pretty active for around a week, and I didn't have too much history because, you know, once I got the account back, we just moved back to the original Cursed With and ended up closing Cursed With 2. But it was kind of like a sad period of time. So yeah. And let me make sure I got everything. All right, now for the final entry of Tier 4. Failed Fall Guys stream that never happened. So this is a really obscure one. Like, only I know about it. Nobody else knows about it because it was completely off camera, completely off Discord. Although I think I did mention I was going to stream, but I don't think I told people that night what I was trying to stream, and it ended up being something else, or I ended up, like, delaying the stream. But essentially, one of the nights kind of recently, like, from this summer, I think it was, like, June or July, I was, you know, running out of games to do after we beat TP, and one of the games I was going to do was Fall Guys, and I ended up downloading it on the Switch, and I tested it out, and I kept getting kicked out of the games, and the connection was just being stupid. And I was really committed to streaming Fall Guys, but I just got so close and it didn't happen. And it was kind of sad because, you know, it ruined the night a little bit because I was really banking on Fall Guys. You know, but and then eventually found Paper Mario and like other games and stuff like that. But yeah, at that time it kind of sucked because like I was really, you know, hoping for Fall Guys to work out. And then it's just like the connection and the servers were just being really dumb. So it never happened, and I don't think I told the group chat about this, so I'm pretty sure nobody knows about this ever happening, and it's just overall really, like, interesting situation, because, like, no one ever knew about it, compared to, like, some of the stuff on here, you know, some of the community knows about it, right, but this one, no, only I know about it, so, yeah. Well, that covers Tier 4 of the Iceberg, and now we'll be moving to the last tier on the Iceberg, the darkest one, the most edgy one, the craziest one. Get ready, guys. It's going to be a wild tier. And, yeah, let's jump into Tier 5. Alright, time for the final tier of the Iceberg, Tier 5. So, before we get into Tier 5, I do want to say this is like the third day I'm recording this right now. I'm not even kidding. This Iceberg took forever to record. But yeah, we're finally here to the last tier of the BB27 Iceberg. It is the darkest tier on here. There's a lot of this stuff is very unknown or just very edgy. So, you know, like I said earlier, you know, buckle in, guys. This is going to be a pretty dark tier. And then I'll kind of give a recap of the Iceberg at the end. But yeah, so jumping into the first entry, we have every SML review is personalized. So essentially what this one's referring to is an Iceberg joke that exists on pretty much every Iceberg, even the old ones I made. I'm not sure if it was on the Lost Media Iceberg, but essentially the joke is that it kind of originated from a Super Mario 64 Iceberg back in the day, where it was like every copy of Mario 64 is personalized, which meant that like whatever copy you owned was personalized to you, so it had stuff in it that made sense for the player. That's the original joke, and then it kind of just morphed into an Iceberg joke where like every, you know, blank is personalized, and it just had no meaning. But yeah, I figured I'd throw the joke in my own Iceberg here. Every SML review is personalized, kind of as a way of thinking like, oh, every BB SML review is personalized to the person watching it. Anyways, that's the joke. Next entry is 3DS Online Survivors Community. So this is referring to a group of people I met on New Leaf. It was actually the final day that the 3DS online servers were up and running. It was the same night that me and Goosey did the stream together. But yeah, the 3DS Online Survivors, that's kind of what we just called it. Basically, these were people who were on the New Leaf Island with us, and we met them and made a Discord group chat and kind of just, you know, it's a pretty obscure thing, that's why it's on this low. But it's like a little community of 3DS players that I met, and we do still talk sometimes, but the main activity was during the time when Nintendo shut down pretty much all of sorry about that, it's a computer. Anyways, this is when they shut down all of the servers, so nobody could play online anymore, which is really fucking stupid. But yeah, I kind of met a community through that on the final day, which was pretty cool. Next entry we have is Omar/Damien. So this is a very recent situation, pretty much just in one of the last streams in the Mario Galaxy streams. Essentially, it's referring to this kid named Damien that came to my streams, and he was very religious and asking about my religion and if I believed in God, which I do, and I am Christian, if you guys don't know. But we talked about that for a while, and then he eventually started a giant debate because I said I respected the LGBT community. So he started a giant debate in the comments with everybody in the chat, and it turned into this kind of like a big fight almost. But it ended up with a lock, kind of, you know, basically dunking on Damien, and he kind of got screwed over with the debate, and he lost the debate. But then he brought in an account named Omar, which later on, when we found out that that was the same person. So Omar and Damien is the same person. Two accounts owned by the same person, and he used it as a way of defending himself, essentially, because he knew he was losing the debate with everybody in the chat. And then it led to the Paper Mario finale stream where he came back and tried to spark up the debate again and failed. And then he said he was going to unsubscribe, and we all kind of dunked on him for that and made fun of him. It's just a whole weird, messy situation in the chat, which was very funny, but very stupid at the same time, because this dude was literally using two accounts and trying to pretend to be like different people, and they started freaking out when we found out it was him, and he was like, how did you guys know? How did you guys know? It was like some fucking Scooby-Doo shit where they pull off the mask, and it's like, oh, you kids, you know, like that type of shit. That's essentially what the Omar and Damien situation was, but yeah, it was one of the more goofy ones. It's very obscure, though, that's why it's this far down. So moving on, we have BB still has a Henry. So yes, this is kind of a dark fact, but it's true. I do still have the Henry dead body in the box, which sounds really bad out of context, but if you've been watching this far, you'll know that Henry was my pet spider. I do still have him. I plan on making a kind of like a video where I, you know, dig a hole up or whatever, and I put him in there. Essentially, that's the idea, right? I don't 100% know if I'm doing that or not yet, but that's kind of why I've kept him. So yeah. Alright, so yeah, that one's a little more or less serious, I guess. It's kind of dark, but it's not that dark. Yeah. Next entry is Demo Man was kicked from the community. So yes, this happened back in the earlier days of the channel when I was first streaming. But essentially, Demo Man, as you guys know, is a pretty long-time friend of mine, supporter of the channel. He was around for September, and then he got removed sometime in October, and he was gone for all of November. And the reason this happened is because I believed Demo Man was somebody else that I didn't like. So, and this turned out to be not true, because in December, when I was doing Robot 64, I called up Demo Man, and we had a whole phone call conversation on stream, and we found out that he was, you know, he was Demo Man. And I was like, whoa, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, he was gone for a whole month, and it was kind of sad, just considering, you know, it was a little bit of an overreaction, I guess, on our end, and to kick him out like that. So, you know, I do still feel bad for that, but he's been around ever since December, and he's never caused any problems, so, yeah. Alright, next entry is a big one. I've actually debated whether or not putting this one on here, but it is the Death Mouse situation. So this happened back in July of this year, a little more recent. Essentially what it was Death Mouse we're cool now. You know, no beef with him at all, you know, shout out to him and all that, but back in July, he tried to make an exposed video on me, and I addressed it, and that video is now private because we ended up having a, like, 2-hour phone call on Discord where we sorted out the whole situation, and we took down our videos, and, you know, I put up a community tab being like, yo, go subscribe to him. I'm not gonna get too much into it because it's kind of personal stuff, but, like, essentially it's taken care of now. So yeah, Death Mouse situation, kind of dark, that's why it's on here, but you know. Moving on, we have a pretty funny one. It's quote-unquote, "Are you retarded, Baldy?" So this quote, "Are you retarded, Baldy?" comes from a phone call one night, kind of during July, I believe, where it was us, me and the community in the Curse With group chat. We were all having a call together, and what happened is, this is kind of a mess to explain. We were just talking about random shit, and it led up to Baldy making, like, a joke. He brought up this video, like, Lightning McQueen meme video that he found, and Locke, you know, it was so out of context, right? So Locke was like, "Are you retarded, Baldy?" He was like, "I have a genuine question for you." And then he says, "Are you retarded?" And that made us all lose our shit and start laughing our asses off because we were not expecting him to say that. Oh, wow. Okay, sorry about that. We were not expecting him to say that shit at all. So he dropped that, and then Baldy rage quit the phone call, and I thought he was gonna leave the group chat again. It was gonna be like a fire in the hole part 2. Luckily that didn't happen, but you know, the way that Locke built up to that question was just so funny because we did not expect him to say that or ask that, and the way Baldy was freaking out was just crazy, and that whole phone call was just funny, but yeah, it's kind of stupid. Next entry is Hentai Girls stream. So yes, this technically did happen. The first stream of 2024, we were doing a Minecraft stream for about an hour, and I got super bored of Minecraft. Nobody was joining. I was really frustrated. So we went on the eShop, and I was just kind of looking around for random games to maybe stream in the future. And the first thing, I'm not kidding, the first thing that popped up when I went to, like, new games was Hentai Girls. And I was like, there's no way they have this shit on the Switch. Like, there's no way Nintendo allowed that. So I bought it thinking the whole time that it was going to be basically a troll game and, you know, wasn't going to show anything. I actually did buy it. It was like $2. And this is when everybody started joining the stream, and we were all laughing about it and being like, yo, what the fuck? Like, why? You know, he's actually bought that shit. And we ended up playing just a little bit of it before Demo Man stopped me and told me that he found the rest of the game on YouTube and how it actually does end up showing not safe for work. And I was like, he literally saved me, because if we kept playing this, there would have accidentally been, like, nudity that popped up. So yeah, it was crazy. Demo Man, you know, big shout to him. He saved my whole life in stream. But it was just so funny. Since then, I don't have the game anymore. I deleted it. Just, you know, I really only bought it for that night. And it was just, I didn't think they would actually show anything, man. That was the whole thing about it. Like, I don't know. Nothing on the stream got shown, but it almost did, and it was kind of a crazy situation. So, yeah. Very funny stream, though. Definitely recommend checking that out. First stream of 2024. What a way to start off this year, right? Alright, next entry is almost hit by a car. So yes, this one's kind of sad. In one of the vlogs, I think it's the third vlog, we were crossing the street, we were like running, and then this car, we weren't even running, I guess, but we kind of started to. Basically, this car just appeared out of nowhere, just because it was the way we were crossing the road, you couldn't really see what was coming up if there was any cars, right? It was just kind of came out of the corner. And just boom, just fucking appeared. No sound, nothing, no signs of it. Didn't even see anything. Just appears like a fucking ghost car. And we literally almost got killed by the car on vlog. And then we started freaking out and making fun of the driver. And it turned into a whole mess on vlog. But yeah, we did almost get killed. Like, that is genuinely straight up. Like, if we were just a little bit slower, one of us could have got hit, and that was, it's pretty insane. So yeah, I think it's the last vlog I did. So whatever that one was, I'm pretty sure that's where it happens. If you guys want to go see, it is ridiculous. But yeah. Next entry is Haunted House True Meaning. Alright, so this one was kind of more of a joke entry just to sound spooky. But it's technically referring to the haunted house that like I said, we visit on vlog a lot. And basically the true meaning of it is, I guess in a way, because there is a story behind the haunted house. The story, from what I remember, a friend told me a long time ago, was that somebody actually did get killed in that house, and there was like demons in there, and like he actually visited the haunted house and went inside or something like that. Somebody actually got killed in there. And that's why me, Drew, and Lucas wanted to check it out, because I had told them of that story, and then that's what kind of began us going to that house. And we didn't catch anything. There was one moment where we knocked on the door and it almost did open, and then we ran off. But, yeah, like there actually was a story behind that house, and, I don't know if it was like 100% true or not, but the shit is scary. And, it's called the haunted house for a reason. Like, we don't just call it that because it's like a broken down piece of shit. Like, no, we call it that for a reason. That shit was haunted. Allegedly haunted. Allegedly. Alright. Next entry is, this is a goofy one. The DD incident. So the DD incident happened back in the Rage era, I believe. It was during one of the Getting Over It streams. And what happened is I started playing FNAF Custom Night because I got bored of the other game. And the DD is a character from Custom Night, so Custom Five Nights at Freddy's. Essentially, I'm not going to explain the whole game, but you can, choose who you want to play as or have attack you, and, there's a bunch of settings, whatever. I'm not getting into all of that. It's not really important. But yeah, DD is essentially a character from that game. What she does in the game is she will spawn more animatronics to attack you. So let's say you just set her at like a level 1 or something, and you don't have anybody else turned on. She will spawn and then, bring out other people that you've never even chose before you started playing the night. It's kind of confusing if you don't know the game. But she did this to me, and what ended up happening, I can't speak. What ended up happening is the gamer word slipped out. Which I'm not even going to get into that. But basically everyone came to the stream at that very moment. It's like I fucking summoned Locke and I summoned all Lucas and all these people, because the stream was dead. The stream was completely dead before that, which is kind of why I had like a PewDiePie moment. But I got really frustrated at DD, and that's why that happened. But yeah, it was funny. They all came in at that moment, and then it just kind of became like an incident, but it was kind of stupid. Next entry is dick drawing on sidewalk and vlog. This one did actually happen. It's not something we found. I think it's in the second vlog. It's like the daytime vlog. Lucas basically took a giant stick off the ground and started drawing on the sidewalk, and he drew basically like a big penis. One of the balls was like deformed on it though, and that's why it wasn't. It's ridiculous. It doesn't even really look like one, but it was like a big drawing on the sidewalk. And then yeah, not too much else to say about that entry. Next entry is Chris's N-word drama. Okay, so this one, the Chris's N-word drama, this one's a little more serious. I believe this was Sonic Adventure Part 2, back in February. Me and Chris were on a call. We had a bunch of other people on the call too, but he was basically making this old man voice and like just, I don't know, he was like just trolling and messing around, and then he accidentally slipped out the N-word, and I kind of got mad at him. Like, I got really mad at him. It was one of our only like recent dramas though. But basically I kicked him out of the call, and I kind of went on a whole tangent about how you can't say that on stream, and how I try to do my best to avoid that happening. And it was just a mess. But eventually, a day later, me and Chris forgave each other because, we're best friends. We've been through way worse. We've been through everything together, like unironically everything. And, but it was just kind of annoying in the moment. And the stream was a little bit brought down, by that too. So, yeah. Next entry is Eminem Marshall Mathers Z. So this one, I don't want to expose what this actually is because it's a very funny joke within the community. But essentially, there exists this lyric channel from 2011 that was called Eminem Marshall Mathers Z, and it uploads these Eminem songs and these lyric videos, right? And it's been inactive for over like a decade now at this point. It's been completely dead. They never came back to it. But now there's a new version of that channel that exists that has continued the legacy by uploading old school lyric videos on it. I recommend checking it out because it's very funny. It's like 2011 YouTube all over again. I won't say who's behind the channel. I'm not the one behind it. I'm not going to say who's behind it, but it is a very funny joke within the community. So yeah, moving on, Locke's drawings. Locke's drawings have only happened a few times on streams, but every now and then Locke will make a very edgy, gross drawing that is supposed to either portray me or portray somebody in the community, and it's very poorly done. It's like just terrible, drawings, just really crappy. And this led him to get like in trouble with his family, which I'm not gonna get into all that, but they apparently saw these drawings, and yeah, it was kind of a mess. But these drawings are pretty funny. I've showed a couple of them on streams before, and they're kind of funny, but there's not too much else to say about them. So yeah, moving on. Alright, so the next entry is the Fred 2 disaster. So the Fred 2 disaster is referring to one of the more recent movie nights where we were trying to watch Fred 2 in the server. We did end up watching it, but it took like almost an hour of multiple people trying to go to websites to get the movie working, and the movie kept crashing, or like their computers weren't working. It was a complete disaster. We were all like losing it. It was a really funny call though, and finally Noel, the Australian dude, had it working on a website, and he was like using a VPN. It took so much to make Fred 2 happen. It genuinely took so much, and I kind of debated putting it on the Iceberg since it was just such a dumb night. But it was really funny. Like, it was such a mess just to get a stupid movie working. And then it did, and then the whole Fred 2 night was amazing, actually. It turned very good. But yeah, it was a mess getting that movie to start. It was not fun. So, yeah. Next entry is Matthew Nowak. Matthew Nowak's actually one of the Discord staff people, I think. I don't know if he still works for them or not. But essentially, this one is referring to how the hacker who had my account and Felix's account for a minute there in May, he was using somebody named Matthew Nowak, like a fake account with that name, pretending to be the staff member who also goes by the same name. So yeah, I already talked about the hacking thing earlier, but that's just the name of the hacker technically, and that's what we referred to him as for a while. But the actual Matthew Nowak is a Discord staff member. He has nothing to do with the hacking of me or Felix or anybody else during that time. And yeah, it was just kind of stupid. So moving on. SML cast reviews. So this is the reason it's on here this low is because this isn't an official thing yet on the channel. It's something I've talked about a few times, and it's something I still might want to do. But essentially, yes, I was going to do SML cast reviews where I would review Logan, Elena, Pablo, whoever, right? And it was going to be similar to the SML character reviews. And like I said, this isn't a completely quit idea. It's not canceled yet. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not, but I still kind of want to. I did try to record one for Logan one time, I think back in like March or April, and I ended up quitting the video, deleting it, and just like, never came back to it. But yeah, cast reviews, maybe they'll still happen someday if you guys really want them. I don't know. Next is it's a bit of a personal one, and I just want to say before I, address this one, I didn't put this on here for, like, attention or just to brag about it, because that's not what I was doing by putting this on here. I put this on here because I talked about it myself in some of the streams and how I struggle with it. But yes, the next entry is self-harm. As some of you guys may know, my closest people know that I've struggled with that in the past. It's not really been a thing recently, and no, I do not do it for attention. I know some people have claimed that, but it's just not me. I do actually struggle with a lot of depressing thoughts and suicidal thoughts and all that stuff, and I'm not going to get too deep into that, right? Because this is just an Iceberg video. Maybe one day I'll open up more about that on a vlog or something. But yeah, I put it on here just because it is such a dark topic, and it was brought up a few times, and it's very unknown. I feel like not a lot of people knew about it. It's just on here, and there's kind of a reason it's on here this low anyways, because again, I'm not trying to shove that in your face, like, oh, I've done that, like, yeah, it's happened. But yeah, it's just fucking, it sucks. So yeah, moving on, retiring from SML video. This is my April Fool's video from this year. Originally, we planned to do a big plush special for that, and we actually ended up uploading that on my other channel, the original channel. So if you guys want to go check that out, you can. But I had a different idea for April 1st. I was going to make a video being like quitting SML forever. Right, and I did that. The video was very funny. Some people believed it. A lot of people knew I was bullshitting. But it's a pretty funny April Fool's video, and yeah, I liked it. Alright, next entry is Locke's Stalker. Yeah, so this happened back in September when I was around the time I first met Locke. He used to do live streams on his channel. And essentially one night while he's streaming, I think one of my videos, a kid came in there who was like stalking him kind of in real life. Like he would like be like, oh, I saw you through the window at like our school or something. And he was kind of like being weird and asking Locke a lot of weird questions and just mentioning stuff that like he didn't need to be mentioning in a chat, like, you know, personal stuff about Locke. And it was just kind of weird. Eventually Locke ended up banning him though, and he's never returned since then. But it's such a weird, obscure thing that nobody knows about. That's why I decided to put it on here. So yeah. Moving on, we have the whistling at night. So yeah, this happened in, I think it was the first vlog with me, Drew, and Lucas, where we were walking at night, and somebody out of nowhere, like not even 20 minutes into the video, whistles at us. It was like a very faint whistle, but it was pretty loud, and even the camera picked it up. Really creepy shit. The whole vlog itself is creepy just because we go to the dark haunted house at night, but this was way before we even got there. And somebody like legit whistled at us. We didn't know who, we couldn't find out. It didn't happen again, but it was a very clear whistle, very creepy. And yeah, nobody else knows about it besides us. So yeah, and I guess you guys now. Yeah, moving on. Scott Bojack Mario Era. Very creative title, I know. This refers to the most recent era in BB lore that covered pretty much all of August and is still currently going on. Essentially, it was an era that I was, you know, me and the community became very heavily involved with. Scott Pilgrim, which I kind of mentioned earlier, BoJack Horseman, because I watched the whole 6-season series, and it was a very wonderful show, very sad show, but a lot of good, just a good experience overall for me. Very related heavily with BoJack. I still do. And then Mario, the last part of it is referring to my Paper Mario playthrough, which is the most recent full series playthrough, besides Galaxy. So, yeah. That's why I decided to, you know, group those three up and then call it an era based off of that. It's not a very creative title, but it's pretty funny when you think of it like that, so, yeah. Okay, almost done with the tier, guys. We're getting close. Next entry is Drink of Death Caused Sickness. So this was actually a theory that me, Drew, and Lucas came up with, and I've talked about it a little bit on stream. Essentially, the Drink of Death was one of the collab stream punishments. I don't remember which collab stream it was. I think it was like Mario Kart or something, Mario Party. I think it was the Mario Party one. And this was early June, right before I got sick, and the whole big June sickness happened. And the theory was that the drink of death that we made together, which was basically a bunch of ingredients put together into like a glass, and it was like disgusting, and that was like the punishment. We drank that, and we actually all ended up getting sick, like actually full on, pretty much a flu for like 2 weeks. I mean, I probably got hit the worst, but I know Drew got hit really bad, and even Lucas was sick there for a few days. You know, I at first was like, oh, Lucas got me sick, but none of us were sick when we were hanging out that day, and the drink of death became the big theory of why we all got sick, because there might have been expired ingredients in there, and, you know, we just mixed a bunch of gross shit together, so that could have had, you know, some sort of bad effect on us, and that was the big theory. Do I still believe it? Probably, honestly, just considering it happened so soon after the June hangout there in early June, and then boom, June sickness, like, you know, maybe, definitely a possibility. It's a little bit of a Matt Pat game theory, though. But hey, that's just a game theory, like that type of shit. But yeah. Anyways, moving on. This one's one that only me and Railsy know about. A failed Spyro the Dragon playthrough. So this one's referring to how right after TP ended, the next series was supposed to be Spyro the Dragon, and we were going to do all the Spyro the Dragon games. but it failed because basically my PC sucks, I guess, and couldn't run it, and we had to cancel that idea. And that's why a lot of the streams for a while started being one-offs, because we didn't have another big game to stream, right? Eventually Paper Mario Galaxy happened, right? But at that time it was supposed to be Spyro, and then sadly we couldn't do it. But maybe someday when I get a better computer, you know, maybe we'll try it again. Next entry is Chris versus Baldi. Now, this is more of like an overall sort of entry. This isn't just referring to one event or like video. This was just kind of something that happened from the time that I got together with the Curse with group chat, and, you know, not so much anymore. Chris and Baldi are now more friends than enemies, but for a long time, for months, they had so much drama together, so many little one-off dramas, even as far as like TP era. I remember they fought on a stream, and that was like one of their last really big fights. But yeah, no, Chris hated Baldi in the beginning, thought he was like a nerd and annoying and did too much, and then Baldi got sick of Chris and thought he was an asshole and a troll, and they kept butting heads, and it just became a mess. But eventually, after a long time, they kind of got closer, and ever since Chris went to boot camp, you know, they don't really talk anymore. But once he comes back, I'm hoping it will continue with them being good, because, yeah, it was bad for a long time. And that's why I'm not picking out, you know, every Chris and Baldi drama, because there's just so many of them. Decided to just group it up and throw it at tier 5. Next entry is Not Yet. Not Yet. So this is referring to another stream joke. It's actually one of the more very obscure stream jokes, though. It only ever happens in very rare moments. But essentially it originated back in February, I think, or like a Rage Era. Actually, no, this was before Rage Era. But the joke was that we were playing like a game. We were playing Arcanator, I don't even know how to pronounce that game. It's essentially the genie game where he, you know, you do questions and he guesses people. We were playing that, and questions would pop up sometimes being like, oh, is your character over 100,000 subscribers? And I would be like, not yet. Like, if I was guessing myself, I'd be like, not yet. And then everybody in the chat was like, not yet. And it became like a big joke. And it's only ever gotten used a few times. It's one of those jokes that you don't really get to see a lot. But yeah, it's very funny. Next entry is BB's scrolling problem. So this is more of like a personal thing. I know not a lot of people talk about this. I don't even really talk about it a lot. But essentially, I have a really bad problem with scrolling on TikTok and Instagram way longer than I need to, and it's something I've been struggling with the past couple of years, ever since the termination happened. And, you know, sometimes it's not as bad, sometimes it's really bad, you know, it's just kind of a mess. Even the whole process of this Iceberg got kind of delayed because I was scrolling on TikTok and Instagram. I'm genuinely being serious. It was that annoying. It's something I do still struggle with, unfortunately. So, yeah. Alright, now to the last couple entries, guys. Next one we have is the real reason the 300 sub montage got delayed. So if you don't know, the 300 sub montage was supposed to happen sometime in December, right when I hit 300 subs, but it ended up taking like, I think it was like a 2-week delay. I'm not sure completely, but I know it was a very long delay. And this is because Hellfire was originally going to be making the 300 sub montage, and he never did. Like, he couldn't download some of the stream clips, and the storage was getting too much for him, and he never put the thing together in time, so I had to kind of scramble and make it myself. And I prefer the way it came out. Like, I do love the 300 sub montage. I don't think it's a bad video, but the fact that it was delayed by like 2 weeks and I was kind of hoping on Hellfire, it was just a mess, and we had a little bit of beef because of that. But it wasn't anything too serious, and, you know, like I said, the video came out. It was a great video, and, you know, I like the way I did it, so, yeah. Alright, let me make sure I got everything. Alright, I got everything, guys. This is going to be the final entry on the Iceberg, and this one's pretty cool. It is Making the SML Reviewing Community Great Again campaign. So this is something I wanted to do as an official video, which I still haven't done. But essentially what this is referring to is, since the SML reviewing community is kind of falling apart over the years, with SMR and Ray Rants getting exposed, I myself wanted to be kind of like the Donald Trump of the reviewing community, and basically I wanted to start a campaign where I basically go around and inspire people to make their own reviews and get better people in the community that aren't, you know, predators, right? EDPs and Diddies and all that shit. Like, no, fuck that. You know, I myself am trying to save the community, and I wanted to make like an official announcement campaign video about that, which still hasn't happened. It might someday, but the reason it's so low on the list and it's the very last entry is because it's kind of, it's more like a hopeful sort of thing. It's not something super dark or obscure. You know, I've talked about it a little bit, but, you know, it's something that I do hope to happen with the SML reviewing community, where we can just kind of save it again. And that's all I want for the community, you know, because it's just so depressing recently. So yeah, that is the BB27 SML Reviewer Iceberg. I hope you guys have enjoyed this Iceberg video. It is a very long one. It took me over a month to make the chart. It got delayed a whole bunch. It was in development hell, you know, and then finally over the last few days I've been recording it, and then Jeffy's birthday happened and I needed to make Jeffy's birthday review, so it got pushed back another day. And the amount of editing and just time I've put into this, I really want you guys to know this was not a super easy video to make, especially some of these topics are really dark, and it's stuff that a lot of you guys didn't know about me or my friends, and it's like, I don't necessarily feel bad for putting it out there because it's nothing like that bad, right? It's all stuff that was talked about at one point or another. Some of it, no, but, you know, most of it, yeah. And it's just like, I don't know, I wanted to do this Iceberg for my community, but I also wanted to do it for people who are getting introduced to this channel. That's why this Iceberg is going to be the main page video instead of my first video. I'm going to be changing it. And I want it to be like a good introduction to everything on this channel and what you can kind of expect. A lot of these are really dumb entries, yeah, but a lot of them are like, you know, pretty cool. And it's like stuff that people don't know about, like Kitty and Pepper, or like the old SML reviews, or Henry, or, you know, Baldy and his stuff, or like the jokes, the inside jokes, like Not Yet, and, you know, just stuff like that. It's just a lot of cool shit, you know, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. So yeah, like, subscribe, hit your boy up later. Let me know what you want to see an Iceberg on next. There might not be one again for a long time, but that's about it. Thank you all so much for all the support. You know, 600 subs, 700 subs, 800 subs, and now 900 subscribers as of the time I'm recording this and finishing this Iceberg. And I might put out something else for 900 subs, but that's about it. Peace out. Thank you guys for everything. Love you guys, and yeah, stay lit. Peace out.